Tyreek Hill, I mean, I like Christian McCaffrey, the fact that he was able to he's on a Super Bowl winning team, but I just thought Tyreek Hill had a lot of momentum, but I guess maybe that momentum faded some because he was heavy in the MVP conversation in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
So, you know, you look at that right there. Christian McCaffrey had 2,000 total yards, 21 touchdowns. You know, he played in 16 games. So I'm okay with Christian McCaffrey winning. I just thought that Tyreek would have a better shot.
I agree.
Now, when you talk about comeback player of the year, I don't even, what is that? Because Joe Flacco played like 5 games. How could you be like comeback player of the year? I thought you had to be injured or some sort to be a comeback player of the year, because if that's the case, then it's Baker Mayfield, in my eyes, should be the comeback player of the year. If you're just looking at a player on a team that does something from wire to wire, he played 17 games, he led his team to the playoffs, he earned himself an extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then when you talk about coach of the year, now, I don't even know how this, first of all, you come into the season and you're the Cleveland Browns, you're supposed to battle Baltimore in Cincinnati for the division. You got a $500 million quarterback that was supposed to do everything for you. You got Myles Garrett. You were picked to go to the playoffs.
And Myles won Defensive Player of the Year.
And Myles won Defensive Player of the Year. But here's what I would say.
Yep.
There's about 5 people that I would have gone way ahead of Kevin Stefanski. Number 1 is DeMeco Ryans.
Agreed.
Okay, they should have won. As far as if we had this conversation at the beginning of the year, who would be coach of the year, we would say, oh, how many games Houston would have won? We'd have said, oh, they probably win 3. Rookie quarterback, they don't have a lot. They kind of trying to get over the Deshaun Watson situation. Instead, they go to the playoffs with C.J. Stroud. They got the rookie of the year on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively.
And by the way, who'd they beat in the playoffs?
First-time head coach. They beat
they beat Kevin Stefanski.
Kevin Stefanski.
I know that doesn't count in the award.
But it's still...
They blew their doors
But you can't
off.
look at DeMeco Ryans and Kevin Stefanski in the same at the start of the season and think that the Houston Texans are going to even be in the playoffs. We thought that Cleveland was probably going to make some noise. So now you talk about that, but I said I would have taken Ty Bowles before him, Dan Campbell before him, Sean McVay before him, Mike Tomlin with 3 different quarterbacks in the playoff before. Like, you can pick a bunch of, but Kevin Stefanski, for crying out loud, missed me with that. I don't even know. It's almost like he bought some votes because he got 21 first-place votes.
I don't think he bought votes.
No, think about it, though, with these other coaches that I just mentioned. Think about the coaches that I just mentioned. Mike Tomlin played with 3 dumpster fires at the quarterback position.
Remember, for point of order, Stefanski had to play with 5 different quarterbacks.
I understand, but even so, he wound up playing with a former Super Bowl winning quarterback in the end that willed them into the playoffs. Your defense and your running game was stout. Okay, even though you lost Chubb, you signed Kareem Hunt, but you still could run the football. You still were able to play defense. And Dan Campbell. How could you just... I understand he botched the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, but this is regular season.
This is regular season.
Yeah.
How do you... I don't understand. But... That's my pet peeve with the honors situation last night.
All right, respond, Michael.
Yeah, and I listen. This is what makes this part when we do these things so difficult, because we're talking about greatness all the way around, and we're trying to reach down and pull out and call one of the great hits, like the greatest coaching job this season. And Key, I love what you did, and it's naturally how I usually try to measure all men is in distance traveled. And that's what you're talking about. Let's look at what's expected. How were you supposed to start this season? And then what was delivered? Distance traveled, sit down, shut your mouth, get out of here, let's stop playing around. Houston was a mess. That old saying, Houston, we have a problem, was apropos. Houston was a mess. To get a first-time head coach to come in one season, turn it around, the 2 picks that he took in the first round both won Player of the Year.
Rookie.
Mind-blowing. I mean, rookie offensive defensive of the year. That's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing.
It is.
I thought at some point they must have looked at these things. I know it's on the tally, but they must have said, well, maybe we're giving too much to them. He gave Houston those two. Then you say, let's give somebody else Coach of the Year, because I agree, even though I do believe Kevin Stefanski did a hell of a job in Cleveland, getting that team there with all that happened in Cleveland, with Deshaun Watson going out and bringing up Joe Flacco and the defense. And they beat the 49ers in that big game that they had. He did a great job coaching that game. So I'm not saying he doesn't deserve some flowers. I'm just saying he doesn't deserve the trophy. I believe D'Amico Ryan deserved that trophy in that sense. And I also, with you, Key, I would have liked to see my receiver get something. I mean, I could have taken Tyreek Hill as Offensive Player of the Year, or my dude C.D. Lamb as Offensive Player of the Year, since we were going to give Christian McCaffrey Ground Game of the Year, best running back, the best running back. So you give him the best running back, give one of those receivers who had incredible years Offensive Player of the Year. Then we kind of spreading that thing around to all of the positions. Now, C.D. Lamb did get best play, best moment of the year, that big play when Dak scrambled around and caught him on the 89 or 90-yard touchdown, a deep touchdown. He did get play of the moment of the year, but yeah, I could have stand for one of my receivers getting Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year.
For once, I'm with Key on every point that he made to start this conversation, and I think you ended up saying, even though it was close, you still went with Christian for Offensive Player of the Year, right?
Yeah, because look, he's in the Super Bowl. He is a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
And so is Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill would have got 2,000 yards. He could wind up short by about 160.
Yeah.
He had about
He got
1,800
hurt.
some change. But he got hurt.
If he hadn't got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Right.
But think about this. Okay, on Christian's behalf, he led the league in rushing. He led the league in all total yards from scrimmage. He led the league in total touchdowns. But Tyreek, even though he missed some time, Tyreek led in receiving yards. He led in receiving touchdowns. He led in yards per touch, because every time Tyreek Hill touched the football this regular season, it went 14.5 yards. That is just off the charts great. And remember, Tyreek is handicapped because the guy who's throwing the football doesn't have much of an arm. The guy who's throwing the football to get deep balls has to get a running start to get it to Tyreek, or throw it before, like after 1 second after the snap, to let Tyreek go get it. But in the end, because Christian touched the ball almost 3 times more than Tyreek, I will give him a slight edge there, just because you want to talk about a driving force of that offense. I will give you that. But then I'm a Baker fan, and Key, you made such a great point. I mean, Flacco only played 5 games, and Baker had to step into Tom Brady's shoes in Tampa.
All that.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention that part.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
and Baker, for what it's worth, had a little better numbers across the board than Tom did in his last year, which was last year, obviously, in Tampa. And for Baker to come from nowhere to back to everywhere, it was quite a year. It was very impressive.
He had career-high numbers, right?
Career-high passing yards
and touchdowns.
Các bạn vừa xem xong video phân tích của chúng tôi. Sau đây sẽ là video hướng dẫn cách làm một cây gậy ngôi sao vàng bao quanh hình tròn như này của tôi. Bây giờ các bạn vào làm cùng tôi luôn nhé. Đó, các bạn cứ quấn lại cho mình thật chặt như vậy nhé. Mình sẽ quấn đến khi hết cái tờ giấy nhé. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ dán cái phần này lại nhé. Rồi mình sẽ dàn nó lại như vậy. Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ một cái que màu tím như thế này. Tiếp theo này, các bạn sẽ lấy cho mình tờ giấy màu vàng. Đó, các bạn sẽ lấy cho mình tờ giấy màu vàng này. Bây giờ các bạn sẽ vẽ cho mình một hình tam giác nha. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ vẽ cái hình ngôi sao nhé. Rồi bây giờ các bạn sẽ vẽ cho mình một hình ngôi sao này. Và bây giờ mình sẽ vẽ tiếp này. Tiếp theo là hai cái phần bên dưới nhé. Đó, bây giờ thì mình sẽ cắt cái hình ngôi sao mà mình vừa mới vẽ ra nhé. Đó, các bạn sẽ cắt cho mình cái hình ngôi sao như thế này nhá. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ gắn nó vô cái hình tròn như thế này nhá. Đó, các bạn sẽ dán cho mình cái hình ngôi sao vào cái hình tròn như thế này. Đó, các bạn sẽ dán nó vào như thế này cho mình nhé. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ gắn nó vào cái que nhé. Đó, mình đã gắn xong cái hình ngôi sao như thế này. Vậy là mình đã hoàn thành xong một cái gậy ngôi sao như thế này. Chúc các bạn làm thành công và hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video sau nhé.